Southern and Middle Belt Leaders Forum have said it would not attend a roundtable meeting with the former head of state, General Abdusalami Abubakar, retired, because a trade organization, Miyetti Cattle Breeders Association, was invited. Now, the elder statesman and chief or chairman of the National Peace Committee organized a roundtable on national issues and security, which was holding today in Minna, Niger State. Now, the forum said it would not accept the categorization of the SMBLF with leaders of Miyetti at the peace-building meeting, saying that this will only put them on the same bracket, with those members that have been accused of various violations of rights, including life. Now, joining me to have this conversation, I have Martin Lumber. He's a political analyst. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Lumber. And of course, we still have Francis Chilaka. He's a political analyst also. Thank you for staying with us. Much. So I'll start with the new guy. In quote. This is a peace meeting. This is a round table to discuss the seeming rising insecurity issues in Nigeria. Why not consider that and then lay or table those issues, or let's say whatever it is that you hold against that group at the meeting, instead of outrightly saying that you're not showing up? I mean, are we not talking about peace here?
I think that first off, I would like to applaud the stand that the Southern and Middle Belt elders took. If I have my way, I want to celebrate them globally.
Okay.
And I think that we have gotten to a stage in Nigeria where we need to take our positions with all of the muscle that we have. Because I see a country that is actually going down. And if we do not wake up to the challenge of nation building, unfortunately, I do not see any prospect for progress.
How do you see nation building in a case where you're supposed to come together to talk about insecurity, but you're saying you're not showing up at all?
Some of these things are so obvious and straightforward that it is offensive when you begin to make it appear as though we are foolish, in quotes. For instance, you cannot build peace without justice. And the arguments that these people have put forward, if you look at them, they are logical, they are sensible, and they are very straightforward. For instance, none of those organizations within the southern part of Nigeria or the Middle Belt part of Nigeria can be accused of wielding an AK-47, not to talk of the group as a whole, maybe being violent or what have you. Now, the Miyetti Cattle Breeders Association, they have had issues all across Nigeria.
But they have also distanced themselves from those issues.
Just a minute. So many of those issues, they have actually come out to say, and in any case, even just one issue is sufficient to paint you black in this kind of a scenario. Having said that, on the other hand, they are a trade organization, so to say. These other guys are sociocultural organizations. So why lump them together? It makes no sense.
Interesting. Francis Chilaka, Ohaneze is also part of this group. He might be speaking for Pandef. But I'm just saying, Ohaneze Ndigbo is also part of this. And he made an interesting point. These are social cultural groups, and this Miyetti is a trade association. Maybe he does have a point, but if it is in the interest of peace, and if this insecurity has also had something to do with the Miyetti why should they not be invited to the table?
You do not get peace by just coercing people to sit on the round table.
I did not see coercing.
No, that's what's going on.
In the letter or in the wordings?
No, I'm not interested in the letter. If Ohaneze Ndigbo has gone to sit in that meeting, I am telling you, they'll come back and people will stone them. We need to understand one thing, and that is where I think Nigerians should understand. Ohaneze Ndigbo, Afenifere, Pan, Niger Delta, and all of that. These are the groups that make up Nigeria. These are the different ethnic groups that make up Nigeria. Miyetti is not an ethnic group that makes up Nigeria. You would have said as well to bring Auto Dealers Association to the meeting. You would have brought Market Women Association to the meeting. If we want peace, What I would have thought that the retired general would have done, being the national chairman of peace and whatever it is called, was to first of all sit down with these entities, with the security chiefs, and deliberate with them. After that deliberation, set up another committee to reach out to these people. But lumping all of them together, what is the message you're trying to pass? It's a wrong signal and it's a wrong message. And I'm honestly disappointed with the presidential spokesman, Shehu Garuba. He needs to understand that Nigeria is at the precipice of chaos. And for us, when we speak, and as public figures, as people that have people who listen to them, we must be careful of what we say. It's unfortunate that a lot of people who claim to be spokesman for Mr. President, they speak as if they have no common sense. It's unfortunate they do that. I didn't expect that kind of comment from him. Even if those who are calling the meeting do not understand in 3 cases, he must understand, because at the end of the day, people are still going to point fingers at Mr. President. So his job as a spokesperson is to shield his boss. But when you begin to make comments that throws your boss out, then it means you do not know your job.
Let me just go into some of the statements coming from Pandefo, Haneze Afenifere, the Middle Belt Forum, Arewa Consultative. Well, they said, and I quote, we were comfortable up to a point until we saw the following: Gan Allah Fulani Development Association and Miyetti Allah. While we do not know the members of the first group, the lumping of Miyetti Allah, a trade association for cattle herders, and whose members have been accused of various violations of rights, including life across the country, sends us a worrying signal, the statement said. Now, they're saying that their presence at the round table in a categorization with Miyetti Allah will only put them in the same bracket of those wielding AK-47. Now, they're also saying that even if the above was not the case with Miyetti Allah, bringing a trade group like them to the same or in the same vehicle with the nationalities, organizations would not have been appreciated, as there are organizations of their category for fishermen, farmers, parts dealers, poultry. Well, and they're going on and on about it. But I'm still going to rephrase my question. Take, for example, we have the Niger Delta militants, having an issue. And they're causing this issue not necessarily in the Niger Delta, let's say in the Middle Belt or in the Southeast. And there is a peace meeting and they say, let's call some representatives of the Niger Delta militants. Would this be the same reaction?
For me, it will be the same reaction. This is, see, we need to understand what is at play here. We want peace, but we don't want peace that is not founded on justice. If they want peace, if government is sincere, and those calling for these meetings are sincere, hold meeting with the stakeholders first. For instance, Plus TV is an organization. You have a structure. And then something goes wrong with a junior staff. Management will call a meeting and call the junior staff in. It's not done. The management will hold the meeting first. Look at the issues. Don't forget also that in that meeting, the Northern Elders Forum and all of that will be there. So it's like everybody is there. Now, when they finish that meeting, it is easier to now say, okay, we're setting up a disciplinary committee. Now, it is now the duty of that disciplinary committee to now invite your staff to the meeting. But if you bring your management staff here and you bring, say, a junior staff and you begin to talk to them, you have reduced the management staff to nothing in front of the eyes of the junior staff. His respect will be gone. So what people are saying, what they are saying is that we don't have a problem with them, but it is not proper at this early stage of this meeting to bring them in.
What sort of dialogue going forward do we, he said, have a meeting outside of the Miyetti Allah, but is it dialogue with the different social cultural groups the solution to the problem, or is it a willpower to fight with the hydra-headed monster which is causing the insecurity in this country? Which is it? Is it the willpower to fight insecurity, whatever name it may, or whatever guise it may come for?
Political will. You know, the hierarchy of government is very pretentious about this issue. The Miyetti Allah, the leadership of the Miyetti Allah, whatever, if they cannot bring the perpetrators of all of the crimes that have already been, recorded against that association, for goodness sake, what are we talking about? All of those guys are supposed to be in jail. We don't need to be saying these things in our closets, and it is in the public domain. Those guys are supposed to be in jail. What are we discussing? What are they supposed to be discussing? So it is very annoying. Like even the Southern and Middle Belt people said, it is provocative. It is annoying. We know the issues. We're seeing these things. And it is really, really frustrating. Each time we continue to go back and forth about these things that are so straightforward, I don't see any basis for the political leadership to say that they are finding it difficult to deal with the Miyetti Allah. That is on the one hand. The second thing we need to know is that all of this pampering, especially when it has to do with Fulani, when it has to do with cattle breeders, what do I mean? If I want to do my business, for goodness sake, if I don't have money in my pocket, I talk to my friends, I talk to family, I talk to people that are abroad, I go to a bank. Why will federal government take money? For those of us from the Niger Delta, I must tell you that we're very angry. And at the due season, let me put it that way, I'll give you an example. All of the time we're having all of these military governments, it was so fanciful to take northern officers and put them with maybe a military administrator, put them in all of these juicy positions. And they became politicized. Before General Obasanjo was sworn in, what was the first thing he did? He said all of these political people will be retired, and he did that. Where we're heading to now, I must tell you that in the near future, most Southerners, if they get to power with what this present government is doing, they are going to weed out, quote me please, they are going to weed out all of this northern grip everywhere across Nigeria. It is provocative. You see, I hardly get emotional. But have you gotten what I just said?
I have, but let's not veer off.
No, we're not veering off.
Yes,
we're not veering off.
Let's
Miyetti Allah, we cannot be giving them money.
Okay, hold on. I want to correct that. So, one of the governors have come out to say that the Ruga settlement is not necessarily for states that do not have Fulani settlements. So they cannot bring it to your state if you do not have Fulani settlements. It would not make sense. He made that clear yesterday.
Don't prolong the question. Let me tell you what you need to understand. What does a knife do? What is a knife used for? It is used for cutting. That you say to me that somebody was smiling when using the knife, for goodness sake, it doesn't change the narrative. Okay? Some people frown when they are using the knife. Some people laugh when they are using the knife. But the knife will still do the cutting. What we're saying, if you want to do business, cattle business, you want to do fishing, you want to do whatever, please follow the standard, global standard. If government wants to maybe invest in that, maybe a state governor is interested, or they want to use Sambisa, for goodness sake, how is that my problem? How is that a problem for the federal government? That is what we need to answer. We should stop pretending about these issues. And that is why the position that these Southern and Middle Belt people have taken, honestly speaking, it is supposed to be celebrated. Because this is going to lead to our liberation. We cannot continue to pretend in this country. There is too much insincerity. There is too much of cheating in this country. And we need to arrest this nonsense that is happening.
But then, of course, when this issue of cattle rustling and cattle herders, killing people, I remember what the government said, well, and people actually asked that they be prescribed, and government said, how do you prescribe people that are faceless? You don't know these people. They're not necessarily... We have different theories about it. We now hear that they're outsiders. They're not Nigerians. So you can't really prescribe them, can you? The average herder carries a stick, doesn't carry a gun. Have you ever found anyone with... So we hear all kinds of things on this particular issue. Are we ever going to get past this to be able to really deal with the issue? I mean, take away the facade and deal with the issue. Do you see that happening anytime soon?
It takes a lot of political will to do that. I mean, we have Timber Traders Association, cut across.
Yeah.
Why are they not carrying or wielding AK-47? Are we saying that, why is it that government itself has not taken interest in creating settlements for these timber traders?
But the timber market's everywhere.
So we're saying the same thing. Now, cattle business, I've always said it, is a personal business. Maybe what we should even be asking ourselves is, who are the owners of these cattle? Because those headsmen are not the owners of the cattle. They are employed to look after those cattle. So who owns these cattle? Maybe when the owners of these cattle are identified, the problem will be resolved.
So going forward, because I'm trying to understand all of you. Yes, you have grievances, but we are not going to be able to solve this issue. In your instance, you're saying until we identify the owners of the cattle. And he's saying political will. But in closing,
sincerity.
My guys are saying we need to go. Can the government ever deal with this issue head on as a case of insecurity and not necessarily a tribal or a regional issue? Because we're beginning to politicize the issue. So there are people who are taking stands. The Southerners are taking their stands, the Middle Belts, the East, Southeast, the South. Why make it a tribal or, you know, a regional issue instead of calling it a spade when we know it is a spade, an issue of insecurity?
No, it wasn't the people. It wasn't Nigerians that made it a tribal issue. It is government. The very day government came up with Roga, they've come up with different names for it. That is the day the problem started. Government should take its hands off business. Their job is to set an enabling environment for Nigerians to do business. But when government takes a decision to support one kind of business against another, then there's a problem.
Interesting. Well, gentlemen, I wish we could have this conversation on and on, but we have to go. Thank you very much, Mr. Martins Lumber and Francis Chilaka, the both political analyst. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
No problem.
This conversation will definitely continue some other time, but we'll take a short break and bring you our Plus reports. And when we return, I'll be giving you my take. The Islamic Movement of Nigeria has dismissed the mandate approving its designation as a terrorist organization by the Federal High Court in Abuja, describing the attempt as laughable. The group says the order is unlawful and an attempt to infringe on its fundamental right to free worship. Speaking to newsmen in Abuja, the group says it will appeal the decision by the Federal High Court and wants the federal government to stop efforts aimed at dividing the country and undermining the independence of the Nigerian state.
What has happened on Friday, 26, that an organization was proscribed in this country is a very, very dangerous development for the independence of this country, for our security as a nation, for our security as an independent state, for our security as individuals, and for our security to express human rights, our human rights. IMN is a tendency. It is not an organization. It has never been registered anywhere, in any state of the federation. Therefore, it does not exist legally. It's not a legal body, and therefore cannot be prescribed. We are going to appeal and inform the judge who did that he did it out of ignorance. Therefore, this is a lie. This is only an attempt to destabilize our independence and divide our ranks, both Muslims and Christians. We will continue to exercise religion as demanded by our constitution. And we know the constitution of Nigeria. I was a member of all the constitution bodies that produce all the constitution of Nigeria except the last. Therefore, I know what I'm talking about. The government is ignorantly undermining the independence of Nigeria, and we cannot tolerate it. Muslim, Christians, and others must come together to defend this country and our independence. And now, all the good people of Nigeria are in danger because foreign government, evil government, is all after us. They want to divide us. I think we have to stand together. You can never stop an ideology. You can never stop an idea. You can never stop a religion. You may persecute the Shia, but you can never kill the Shia. Christians have been persecuted when Christianity passed away by the Roman Empire, but still today they are Christians. Muslims have been persecuted in Mecca and Medina when the Prophet came, but still there are Muslims today. And all these religions are growing. So we have to be aware.
Well, it's time for my take. SERAP is, of course, a civil society organization, always up in arms, trying to get our leaders and our public officials to be accountable as possible towards the people. But if we, the people, don't band behind the likes of SERAP to help them, push the message of accountability, what's the essence? They're just a handful of people. Now, SERAP is asking other governors to support or do or emulate what Governor Makinde has done. What has he done? He has publicly declared his assets. He did not privately go to the CCB, he published it. Why can all other governors not follow suit, including Mr. President and the Vice President? It is statutory. So why do we really have to ask for these people to do it? Well, because we have leaders who don't feel the need to be accountable to us, hence the reason for the likes of SERAP calling these governors out and calling these other leaders out, publicly declare your assets. And I'm saying it again tonight, if you are a Nigerian and you are in any way concerned about the people who lead you and how they lead you and how responsible and accountable they are to you, support the likes of SERAP, ask questions. Yes, there are people who are out there who would say, I don't know what they're talking about. What's the CCB? What's their duty? Ask questions and you will get answers. And moving on to the issue of the southern and the north, the southern, the southeast, the middle belt associations all backing out of the peace meeting with retired General Abdusalami Abubakar, saying they do not want to be robed, in with the Miyetti Allah, being that they are social cultural organizations and the Miyetti Allah is, a trade association. Bringing them all to the same table, they find it insulting. And so they're saying, if we really want to deal with the issue of insecurity, let there be a political will. Show us that you're not playing favoritism to a certain group of people. And for me, I keep asking, should this issue of Ruga or Miyetti Allah, or the Cattle Breeders Association, be an issue that government should be interested in? Shouldn't government be most interested in keeping the peace? And when I'm saying keeping the peace is fight insecurity as what it is, call a spade, and not try to give it different names. I want to not sound like a broken record, but hey, this is why I'm here. We'll keep talking about it. We need the government to fight insecurity and not politicize it or make it an ethnic or regional issue. We need Nigeria to be safe, and for that to happen, government has to do its job in collaboration with security agencies. This is my take. I'm Maryann, and it's been Plus Politics.